A white mansion stood proudly in East Legon, Accra, its tall gates shining under the Ghana sun. Inside, 16-year-old Efua lived in comfort that many girls only dreamed of. Marble floors, sparkling chandeliers, imported furniture, and a wardrobe filled with designer dresses. From the outside, her life looked perfect, but behind those polished walls, Efua's heart carried a quiet fear that never left her. Her mother had died 2 years earlier under strange circumstances. People whispered, but no one asked questions for long. Her father, a wealthy cocoa exporter, remarried quickly. The new wife, Mrs. Selina Mensah, was beautiful, eloquent, and deeply respected in church. She donated large sums during harvest services and led women's prayer meetings. In public, she smiled like an angel. At home, her eyes were cold. If you're watching from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, California, Jamaica, Trinidad, New York, Florida, Kenya, or London, let us know in the comments. We would love to know where our family is watching from as this story unfolds. Efua quickly learned that her stepmother's kindness was only for the cameras and church members. Meals became smaller for her. Compliments turned into insults. "A girl must be thin and obedient," Selina would whisper with a sweet smile that never reached her eyes. And that was only the beginning.
Life in the mansion slowly became a silent war zone. Every morning before school, Efua was given a small bowl of porridge, while her stepbrother, Kelvin, enjoyed eggs, sausages, and fresh juice. If Efua asked for more, Selina would gently laugh and say, "A young lady must control her appetite." The housemaids watched, but said nothing. They had already been warned. Efua loved school. It was her only escape. She was brilliant in literature and science, often staying up late to complete her projects. But somehow, her assignments would go missing. Once she found her research paper soaked in water. Another time, her carefully built science model was crushed inside the trash bin. When she confronted Selina, the woman only raised an eyebrow and replied, "Maybe you are just careless." The cruelty grew more calculated. Selina began calling Efua rebellious in church meetings. She would sigh loudly and ask the congregation to pray for stubborn children who refused guidance. Members shook their heads in disappointment whenever Efua walked past. Even her father began to change. "Stop embarrassing this family," he warned one evening, after Selina claimed Efua insulted her. But the most painful moment came when Efua received news that she had won a national academic scholarship. She had worked tirelessly for it. The acceptance letter arrived by courier one afternoon when she was at school. That evening, Selina called her into the kitchen. In the sink, floating in dirty water and ashes, was the burnt edge of the letter. "You were not selected," Selina said calmly, wiping her hands. "Learn to accept rejection." Efua's dreams were turning into smoke, and no one believed her tears.
After the scholarship incident, something in Efua began to break. She stopped arguing. She stopped defending herself. She simply endured. That was exactly what Selina wanted. A quiet victim made no noise. It started with the soups. Selina insisted on personally serving Efua's meals. "A mother must care for her daughter," she would say loudly whenever the housemaids were nearby. But the soups tasted strange, bitter, earthy, sometimes metallic. Efua complained once, and Selina smiled softly. "It is herbal cleansing. You are growing into a woman. Your body needs purification." Within weeks, Efua began to lose weight rapidly. Her once glowing brown skin turned pale. Dark circles formed under her eyes. At school, she struggled to focus. Her classmates whispered about how thin she had become. During assembly one hot afternoon, the world around her spun violently. She collapsed in front of everyone. At the hospital, doctors said it could be stress, maybe anemia, maybe pressure from exams. Selina cried loudly beside the hospital bed, holding Efwa's hand as if she were the most devoted mother in the world. "This child worries too much," she told the nurses. "She refuses to eat properly." Even her father looked concerned but confused. "Why are you doing this to yourself?" he asked softly. Efwa wanted to scream the truth. She wanted to say the soups tasted like poison. But each time she tried, Selina's eyes met hers, calm, steady, threatening. Back home, the bitter soups continued, and this time the doses grew stronger. Efwa fainted during a mathematics test, her body hitting the classroom floor with a frightening thud. This time, the school authorities insisted on a full medical examination at a private hospital in Accra. Her father, shaken and embarrassed, agreed immediately. Selina volunteered to handle everything. She packed Efwa's hospital bag, spoke politely to the nurses, and even prayed loudly in the waiting room. "God will expose every hidden sickness," she declared. But beneath her calm exterior, her fingers trembled slightly. The doctors ran detailed blood tests. Hours passed. When the senior physician finally returned, his expression was no longer casual. "Mr. Mensah," he began carefully, "your daughter has traces of toxic plant compounds in her bloodstream. These are not accidental. Someone has been administering herbal toxins over time." The room fell silent. Efwa's father blinked in disbelief. "That is impossible." The doctor continued, explaining that the levels suggested slow poisoning, not enough to kill immediately, enough to weaken, enough to destroy gradually. Efwa's eyes slowly turned towards Selina. For the first time, the glamorous churchwoman did not smile. Security was quietly called. The house staff were questioned. One young maid, trembling and tearful, finally confessed. She had seen Selina mixing crushed leaves and powdered herbs into Efwa's soup late at night. She had been paid to stay silent. The truth was no longer a whisper. It was evidence, and the smiling hyena had nowhere left to hide. News travels fast in Accra, especially when it involves wealth, church influence, and betrayal. By evening, the story had already reached social media. The respected businesswoman, the prayerful church leader, the generous donor, accused of slowly poisoning her own stepdaughter. Police officers arrived at the mansion the next morning. Neighbors stood outside the tall gates, whispering in disbelief. Churchmanders who once praised Selina now avoided eye contact. When officers searched the kitchen storage, they found small wrapped packets of dried leaves and ground herbs hidden inside imported spice containers. Laboratory tests matched the toxins found in Efwa's blood. Selina tried to maintain her composure. She claimed it was traditional medicine. She claimed she was protecting Efwa from spiritual attacks. But the housemaid's testimony, the medical report, and the burnt scholarship letter told a different story. In court, the truth unfolded before the entire city. Financial records showed Selina had recently updated inheritance documents favoring her biological son. The motive was clear. Efwa had been an obstacle. When the verdict was read, the once admired woman stood frozen, her smile finally gone. The same cameras that once filmed her charity donations now captured her being led away in handcuffs. Efwa survived. Slowly, with proper treatment, her strength returned. Her father wept openly and begged for forgiveness. Trust would take time, but healing had begun. If you're watching from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, California, Jamaica, Trinidad, New York, Florida, Kenya, or London, let us know in the comments. We see you and we appreciate you. Shout out to everyone who likes, follows, and shares this story with 3 friends or relatives on WhatsApp. Your support keeps powerful stories like this alive. And even if you choose not to like or follow, please pass this story along to someone who needs to hear it, because sharing truth can protect others. Moral lesson. Not every smiling face carries up your heart. Evil often hides behind religion, wealth, and beauty. Always pay attention to quiet suffering, and never ignore the cries of a child simply because the abuser looks respectable. Truth may be delayed, but it will always rise.